Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Today we are going to discuss about education problems in Indonesia. But before that, we will introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Faharuddin.
I'm Shifa.
I'm Mutia.
I'm Kartika.
I'm Andini.
I'm Fiqri. All right, I'll start the discussion. You guys all already know that the education is very important, but currently there are so many problems in education in Indonesia. What do you think about education problems in Indonesia?
I think lack of instructor.
Curriculums in Indonesia was very old than others country.
Facilities and infrastructure for study is uneven in Indonesia.
Education in Indonesia was so expensive.
One of the problem is sizing class system.
I'm interested in the line that Tika said education in Indonesia was so expensive. Is that really happen right now or has happened for a long time?
It happened for a really long time. Many people in Indonesia were not able to do school things because they could not pay the price. For instance, tuition fee for preschool and primary school are ranging from 2 million to 4 million, not to mention secondary and university level. Apart from the issue, students need to spend extra money on their uniforms, transformation for house to school meals, and the learning materials.
Also, the situation happened in many areas.
But it hardly goes wrong because facilities and infrastructure in Indonesia were uneven. There are some schools and institutions that do not have adequate facilities to support the teaching and learning process. Maybe if the price over was high and the facilities were nice too, it couldn't happen like this. Okay, so how about the size of the class? Do you think the size was good enough or still not good?
Sadly, the size was not good enough. In reality, the size of the class was too small and the number of students was very huge.
In developed countries, the ideal size of student in class was 20 to 25 people. But in Indonesia, there are 28 to 33 students for one class. That was very inversely proportional.
The weakness by having a big class would be influence the effectiveness of the learning and teaching process where the teacher cannot control students effectively. The government must accommodate new teaching and learning style, which includes a laboratory, comfortable classroom, which can facilitate both small and large group students.
Yeah, maybe that's for the size of the class in Indonesia that was very inversely proportional. And how about education? Is it for a competition? Have you ever heard about that? What do you think?
I think yes, the education is not a competition. In Indonesia, majority of people said that you have to be number one in school, you have to be the greatest in any subject. That was very bad for the child.
Yes, I have read some news that exam is not very good because they are trying to get the highest score with anything they can, even if they are going to cheat.
I also know in Finland there's no exams. They rated the scores from the soft skills and memorized skills. It was good for children because they didn't have to do something dizzying called exams.
Talk about education in Finland. I remember that the school hours are very short in the contract to Indonesia. We space half the day school for elementary students in Finland. If the day study for 45 minutes, the day will break for 15 minutes.
Wow, I think that's very good because with enough time for break, the students might receive the lesson better and more focused.
I think I know why Finland is dubbed the country with the best education system in the world, also happiest country.
Yes, I think it's because of a good education system that makes students less stressed and innately happy.
Oh, I see. It makes sense because right now in Indonesia, mental issues are very popular, and the data says that 20% of teenagers have mental issues. What do you think about the situation of education in Indonesia while the pandemic attacked?
It's such a hard moment to remember. A lot of trouble we get in high school because of the pandemic. We can study normally, minimum interaction with other students and teachers.
I think about people who live in unreachable area. The electricity and no network. How can they study in pandemic era like that?
So with the forest problem that we have discussed, how do you think we to fix education problem in Indonesia?
I truly feel that scholarship is one of the best solutions. Scholarship is one of attempts to fix education problems. Its all is the payment of education for many students. Besides that, students will study harder to get scholarship.
If you ask me, to fix education problems in Indonesia can be started by improving the facilities and infrastructure. At present, the school facilities and access have become one of the main issues in the education sector in Indonesia. Some schools and institutions don't have adequate facilities to support the teaching and learning process. Facilities and infrastructure must be seriously developed. It will fixing about sizing class problems and the effectiveness of the learning.
In my opinion, the curriculums must be rebuilt. For example, teachers in school are given the flexibility to run the curriculum, so the teachers are required to complete the teaching materials. I think it will be more meaningful if students really understand the teaching materials provided by the teacher. Also, with a bit of instructional materials, rather than be given a lot of instructional materials, but this is not only the surface of teaching materials, because like all we know, curriculums in Indonesia were left behind with other developed countries. So I think the Ministry of Education must rebuild the curriculum so we can compete with other developed countries.
Well, there's so many problems about education in Indonesia, curriculums, facilities, and infrastructure. Also, pandemic. As an Indonesian citizen, we must be able to work together to fix these problems so in the future we can be a developed country. So that's it all for our discussion today. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.